Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Essential Wellness Empowered Life series. My name is Aisha Harley, and it is a pleasure to be with you today. We have yet another fantastic presentation with Dr. Will Wan. I'm so excited. So grab yourself some oils, some tea, get ready to take notes. If you have any questions, please type them on the chat box, and hopefully we'll have time at the end to answer them. We are also streaming live on our Essential Wellness page on Facebook. So if you are joining us there, also you can type any questions in the chat box there, and I'll keep an eye on that as we move through the presentation. I also have our beloved Dr. Josie with us, and I'm going to pass everything on over to her, and we'll go ahead and advance the presentation for us.
Thank you, Aisha. Well, it is my pleasure. I'm Dr. Josie Schmidt, ND, with Essential Wellness, and it's definitely my pleasure to introduce Will Wan. William is a dear friend and colleague of mine. We went to school together at NCM, and while I was doing the naturopathic degree, working towards that degree, Will was working towards his master's in Oriental medicine and the resultant degree, which is a license in acupuncture and an MSOM, a master's of Chinese medicine. And his family, is a dear friend for many, many years. And we do a lot of work together of talking about the essential oils and how they are working in his and his wife's practice, because they are in current full-time practice. And so Will has a practice called Elite Acupuncture, and he works with a lot of elite athletes. His practice is a full range, so he also works into the range of chronic neurological diseases, things that are kind of pretty intense in that realm, and then also all the way into specialized sports medicine and with elite athletes. And so when it came time for this presentation and we asked Will to do it, we thought this was a fantastic fit, and we really were excited to hear about his take from a Chinese medicine perspective and elite athlete and sports medicine, because not only does he treat elite athletes, he himself is an elite athlete. And you wouldn't know this because he never talks about it. And only when I'm over hanging out at their house and he's just coming back from a 20K or 50K trail run with this huge smile on his face, and he's just kind of been out in nature and that's his time to really soak up with the world and with spirit, or with his daughter all winter long skiing, all various kinds of amazing skiing and winter trail running. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to William Wan and have him talk to us about fitness and vitality and how Doterra and essential oils have been fitting into his life and his patients' lives and his practice, and how he sees, and with Chinese medicine, and how important they have become. And he has many wonderful wisdoms and pearls. So thank you so much for joining us, Will.
Thanks, Dr. Josie. Thank you, Aisha. I really, again, want to appreciate you guys for creating and having this platform for speakers to come educate people, because in many ways it's our passion that comes out to really help discover more of the uses and more of what everybody else is doing, and really getting a deeper understanding. So when you can have a more deeper understanding of the oils and why you're doing that and how to apply it, then that pretty much expands more not only of your comprehension of the oil, but then you're real stepping into more of that responsibility of the self-healing process. Mm. So in terms of my first memory of fitness is when I was about 8 years old. I was visiting my grandfather in Taiwan, and he and my brother and I were hiking up to one of the mountains in central part of Taiwan. And at that time, it seemed like it was like steep. It was a long pitch through this trail, and that ended up at this nice Buddhist pagoda. And the last couple miles, I just hit the wall. I couldn't walk any longer. And he literally just picked me up, and here's this 75-year-old man just having this fullness of not only fitness, but something really else. And I'm talking more about that, what that special thing is, a little bit later in this presentation. But he picked me up, and we went ahead up to the top, and we had the most beautiful, serene lunch there. And so I just started questioning, oh, this is amazing. Here's this really amazing human being, and he's just picking me up like I'm just easy backpack and carrying me up. So I want to talk more about, not only about fitness per se first, because ultimately fitness, we all have this image, it's very personal notion of what is our own fitness level or what is fitness in general. So these are just images that I just brought up from a Google search. And we have this idea of fitness being, physical fitness being people who are buff or really toned, happy. And so we all know that exercise and staying in a place of fitness is good for us, right? Our doctors tell us, everyone around us knows that we have within this capacity to move and to create fitness. But oftentimes we're a little bit overwhelmed. I mean, with time, with life, with schedules, it's tough. So in terms of fitness, what is physical fitness? It's basically a state of health, well-being, and more specifically, it's the ability to perform aspects of sports, occupation, and daily activities. Pretty basic definition of fitness. It's also generally achieved through proper nutrition, moderate to vigorous physical exercise, and sufficient rest. So that everybody kind of basically knows by definition. In terms of more kind of detailed parameters, if you were going to a gym or going to a personal trainer, these are certain parameters that people look at to see, okay, how am I gauging and am I improving my fitness, from the cardiorespiratory fitness to your muscular endurance or stamina, to your muscular strength, your body composition, and your flexibility. So when I was young in elementary school, all the way up to middle school, we had this program that our school was part of, and it was the Presidential Physical Fitness Award program. And as a child, I remember distinctly every year having to go through this gauntlet of push-ups or pull-ups, and I don't know where those medals went off to, but I'm sure they're somewhere in my keepsake box. But just understand that we have all these notions of what is fitness in our minds, from how many sit-ups or how many push-ups, pull-ups, how many distances in terms of a mile timing-wise we can do. So I want to bring to the picture, what is really vitality? And vitality is, by definition, this exuberance, physical strength, this mental vigor. And it's also the capacity for survival or the continuation of a meaningful or purposeful existence. And what that means is basically that we have this deep drive to live. We have this exuberance and fullness of life, that we're excited about the things that we're doing. We're passionate about and interested in the things that we're doing. And that allows us to live and to grow and to even endure in those places called hardships. And it's also this notion of this vital force, or what is this Chinese medicine in this next slide, or actually in the future slides we'll talk about in Chinese medicine. In terms of what is vitality, some of the athletes that I've read about and have written several books concerning their experiences is, one of them is Diana Nyad. She's an amazing endurance swimmer. She was the first person, woman or man, in which to swim from Cuba to Florida without shark cage. Pretty impressive. It took her about 52 hours, 54 minutes, and 18 minutes for a total of about 110 miles. That's a long way to not only be within the depths of the ocean, but also the deepest parts of your mind. So that in ways beyond physical fitness or mental fitness, I believe there's something there that's really what is coming out of her is this vital. And her phrase is never ever give up. And the spirit is larger than the body. The body is pathetic compared to what we have inside of us. And so the next person that has really inspired me to show this concept of vitality is Lynn Cox. She's also an endurance swimmer. She was also one of the first persons in terms of endurance swimming, actually back in the 80s, to swim from Alaska across the Bering Strait to at that point, Soviet Union. And she was in the water for about a little bit over 2 hours and roughly about 44, 46 degree temperature Fahrenheit of water. That's pretty cold, especially to be that long period of time. But she made it, and she, in essence, inspired even Gorbachev at the time to say that she has inspired this, through this swim, to connect people who at one point thought that they were enemies. So she has gone on to do many of TED Talks and has also written several books, but she's an inspiration of this vital force that is within us because of her exuberance, because of her understanding of all these trials and tribulations, to just keep moving, to keep going. And I love her phrase, there are no limits on how much the heart can love, or the mind can imagine, or the being can achieve, because we are infinite. So the third person that I have found inspiration through in my own physical fitness, but also to kind of look in vitality, is Mirna Valerio. She's often, she herself is termed the Mirnavator. And she's an inspiration because of not only her achievement. She's run 10 marathons. This year was her 10th marathon, being Boston Marathon, a high prestigious elite marathon, essentially, to qualify, not only to run, but to qualify even. But she has also gone on to complete 10 other ultra marathons, so over 50K, essentially. And she has inspired all forms of runners, from recreational runners to the elite athletes, have really gained something from her, not only because of her persistence, but again, because of this vital force and this vitality. So going back, to this notion of vitality in Chinese, we call it Zhenqi, or what we call, translates as upright or righteous qi or energy. And what I like to do is look at the origins. Again, the more you know of the history and of its source, then the more you can gain a comprehensive understanding of what it is that you're trying to look at. So Zhen, in terms of Chinese, the origins of Zhen is basically really the beginning meaning is the 10,000 things. So what does that mean? 10,000 qi or 10,000 energies. It's basically this notion that vitality comes from not only within us, but is all around us. As much as the Hawaiians call it mana, or there are other terms for this vitality or the vital force within us. And my point in talking about this from a Chinese medicine or Chinese perspective is it's embedded, it's innate. This vital force is all within us. We're needing just to explore it and to allow those factors that have kind of diminished our zhenqi or vital force to reduce those things that are leaking out or that are exhausting this Zhenqi. And so we'll be talking about ways in this presentation how to cultivate your vitality through these Doterra supplements and essential oils that I found really useful, not only, again, in my own personal practice, in terms of as an acupuncturist and Chinese medicine doctor, but also through my own personal experience as an ultra-marathoner. So how do we cultivate our vitality? One, primarily through venues, through whole food diets, through a vegetable-based diet, but also through helping to improve our digestion. Really, without this digestive system being optimal, we don't have access to these nutrients, even though they may be in the best quality of form. If we have improper or poor digestion, then it's really not going to digest and absorb into our system. The second parameter for cultivating vitality would be this breathing of really quality, or breathing in the air that essentially is imperative to obviously our oxygen, to also to help circulate our blood is important. So what we breathe into our bodies. And then thirdly is movement. And for all intents and purposes, the recommendation I have for most people is 30 minutes per day of moderate to vigorous activity 5 times per week. And it can be really actually different movement forms. It doesn't have to be going out on the trail for a 50K. It can really be gardening. It can be walking. It could be swimming. It could be bicycling. It could be looking in different formats of yoga, Tai Chi, and things that you create some joy for your life. Because it ultimately, movement prevents stagnation. And stagnation in Chinese medicine is when the blood, the qi, the lymph all come to a standstill, whether it be from disease states, because of other issues going on in the body or in your health. But ultimately, it's really slowing down. And so how a movement can support that busting through the blockage is basically perfusing or moving the blood. And the important thing is to invigorate the body without collapsing the Zhenqi, that righteous qi or energy. So we'll be moving into this pre-workout protocol that I've developed for not only myself again, but for elite athletes that I treat. And that comes in the format of 100-miler ultra marathoners, ultra runners, to triathletes, to principal ballet dancers, to former Olympic cyclists, and so forth. So it's a whole gamut of not only elite athletes to weekend warriors, to even in chronic disease states, where just movement is still part of the protocol. So first and foremost is this lifelong vitality pack. And I recommend the full dose. It can be sometimes nice to just tighter up, meaning I start off with some certain individuals at half dose. So that would be 2 capsules of each in the lifelong vitality pack for about a week, and then going up to the full dose of 4 capsules of each of the microplex vitamin, the CRS, and the EO omega. And then also part of that supplementation protocol is the Mito 2 Max at 1 capsule per day, 1 capsule prior to your activity, but twice a day. And we'll be talking more about that in terms of this presentation. But Mito 2 Max has been helpful for not only, again, for all kinds of different energy levels, in terms of lacking energy levels, to actually improving cognitive function and supporting the normal brain functions. And we'll talk more deeply about Mito 2 Max. It's one of my favorite things in which to not only discuss and educate people, but to take. And then thirdly is the Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex. And again, we'll be talking more about this, but in terms of pre-workout protocol, it's 1 capsule prior to your workout or to your activity. And then the essential oil blends or oils that I often use and recommend is the Slim and Sassy or the metabolic blend. And I personally take that, or I also recommend that to my athletes, 3 drops taken orally, or you can dilute it in a little bit of water. You can take that in before your activity. And that is in a way to support the detoxification pathways and also helping you. Essentially, we'll be talking more about that again. And then secondly is the trifecta blend. And we talked about Dr. Mika, my wife, and Dr. Josie talked about the trifecta blend that was first introduced by Dr. Hill back in September. And that includes the frankincense, copaiba, and Siberian fir. And those are all recommended in terms of 2 drops of each essential oil in that order: frankincense, copaiba, Siberian fir, 2 drops taken prior to your activity. Okay, so let's look at more closely after and prior to your workout hydration. In all my research of soft tissue injuries, which soft tissue means ligaments, tendons, connective tissue of the fascia, in terms of if there is sprains and strains, those are often related to not only other issues, but primarily actually due to hydration. And you think about it, if your body is already dehydrated, the tissue in the body is really more susceptible to injury. It's become basically kind of desiccated. You think of something that's shriveled out in the sun or in the desert. It's because it's dried up. And so to rehydrate the body means to really hydrate the tissue. And one of the best ways that I've found for rehydrating the body is to add in the citrus peels and or Slim and Sassy or the metabolic blend, roughly about 3 to 4 drops if you have a 32-ounce bottle of water, like a Nalgene or a steel, what are those steel bottles in which they're about 32 ounces, 3 to 4 drops. And then that's really important to then rehydrate the body, because not only is it tasty, but it's also allowing me to drink more water prior to the activity and after the activity. And that is also understanding that these citrus peels are really supporting the liver detoxification pathways. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So again, the Lifelong Vitality Pack, if you're not familiar with that, it's the fundamental place to start. One, because even though we have in this modern times abundance of vegetables, maybe here in Portland, as we are from, we have a lot of great foods in terms of organic, fresh, harvested foods that are local. But oftentimes, if you actually look at the nutrient content, even if they are organic and local, a lot of these vitamins and minerals have been depleted through the years and years of farming, and also just from the natural soil profile. So understand that Lifelong Vitality Pack, in terms of the microplex vitamins, it's in a format, one, that it's bioavailable, meaning it's really easily absorbed into the cells and into the bloodstream, because it's food grade. It is literally food-based nutrition. And in a way, it's not at high doses where it's completely the kitchen sink macro dosing of thousands of % of the RDA, nor is it microdosing. It's just really fine at that even-keeled level. So that's really important, because one, it's understanding that what you're receiving in these nutrients is being absorbed. And number two, you're not wasting your money because it's macro dosing or mega dosing at levels where you're just excreting that. And typically those levels of mega dosing are more synthesized nutrients. So that's why then they need to have higher whey levels percentage-wise in order to make it through the whole digestive tract. So again, the Vitality Pack is one of the fundamental places to start. And again, I recommended work out at starting out maybe at half dose, but you titer up to a full dose of 4 capsules of each per day. Understand that the USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Health and Human Services do recommend 5 servings of vegetables and fruits per day in a 2,000 calorie diet. That to me is coming from a more naturopathic and Chinese medicine perspective, that's really a low ball. So understand that this is a real bare minimum in order to maybe even prevent deficiencies. But the reality is we need way more levels of of vegetables and fruits for more nutrients and vitamins. So the Lifelong Vitality Pack actually provides 12 or more servings of fruits and vegetables per serving. So that's a great way, again, which to fundamentally start somebody who's even at the chronic level of disease to even if you're super healthy and already doing a regimen of fitness. So in the whole spectrum of ways it can support your nutritive levels. So included in that Lifelong Vitality Pack is the Alpha CRS. And I would just want to highlight this real briefly. One, because the CRS is not only liver support, meaning it helps to support the liver in detoxifying the blood. It helps with it, again, nutrient-based and also herb-based kind of ingredient list. It has, in a way, some amazing herbal constituents, one being Scutellaria. And a lot of these components are, again, what they call polyphenol or basically antioxidants. But one of my best uses for Alpha CRS is really, again, to help support the liver in ways of inflammation. Because when we're working out, when we're active, we're kicking off way more inflammatory cytokines or constituents from muscle activity, muscle use. And so that all creates byproducts. And what's in charge of removing all these byproducts from the blood and from the joints is essentially the liver. So you really need to support the liver in not only these functions of increased activity, just in general. One, because we have such a different environment right now, from environmental pollution to the kind of things that are in the soil to everything that we're listening to on the news in terms of the quality of our foods. So it's really important to, one, again, support the liver. And the Alpha CRS is, I find, one of the best ways to do that. Okay, we're going to talk about Mito2 Max, one of my favorite, again, supplements in terms of understanding, again, from a Chinese medicine perspective. I have the fortunate perspective in which to look at it from a Chinese medicine lens and also from more of a Western perspective, again, of kind of the so-called naturopathic perspective. But in terms of what Mito2 Max is helping to support is the ATP production in the mitochondria. It improves essentially our stamina and our uptake of oxygenation, essentially therefore improving our energy and mental clarity. So how does that do it? In terms of my curiosity in any kind of supplementation is always trying to look at what's in there. So by looking at the ingredient list, I was really impressed. One being because it offers support from a real nutritive level of these constituents of the L-carnitine and alpha-lipoic acid, because these are all ingredients that essentially help support the brain, the cognitive function, the actual memory and support of the firing off of our neurological cells in the brain. So as we age, we as well know that it's important to keep this brain function healthy. So those constituents in the Mito2 max help out with the brain function. And then secondly, I want to talk more specifically, because I love herbs, is this adaptogenic formula. And what is an adaptogen? So an adaptogen is almost like a smart herb. We have like smartphones, we've got smart tablets. So what does that mean? It's a real smart herb, meaning it knows when you take it into your body what's happening at the moment in your body. So it'll adjust certain, whether it be hormones, whether, again, if you're too high on certain hormones, it'll re-regulate back down. If it's too low in terms of your body having low levels of hormones, then it'll readjust to bring it back up. So in that way, we call it an adaptogen. So an adaptogen, again, is really moderating the effects of the environment outside, the effects of like pollutants and so forth, to also those internal factors like stress that creates and kicks off all this oxidative stress, meaning oxidation is kind of this term that we use pretty prevalently to just describe basically cell destruction, essentially, because you have a free radical element that is searching for another thing or electron or actually a positive product in which to glom onto. So anyways, an adaptogen is in a way trying to re-regulate those kind of stressors in the body. And how it does that with the Mito2 max is cordyceps, and in Chinese medicine, it's called Dong Shong Cha Cao. It's basically a mushroom grown at the high elevation of Tibet. And in this format of cordyceps, we use in Chinese medicine to really supplement or tonify the yin. And what is the yin but the material of the body? You know, the flesh of the body, that the blood that leads to actual the so-called nutritive levels of the body. So it, in a way, helps again to build the body's reserves. So cordyceps, again, in many ways regards is one of those herbs that helps with keeping the body in a place of longevity, keeping that place of the material of the body. And the second herb that's in the adaptogenic formula is ashwagandha. And in Sanskrit, ashwagandha is coming from India originally, and also parts of northern Africa. But ashwagandha actually translates in Sanskrit as smell of horse. And smell of a horse, wow, if you actually dig up the roots of ashwagandha, it actually, from what I hear and read, it smells like sweaty horse. So I don't know if there are horse owners or people who love to ride horses, but you might be able to appreciate that ashwagandha improves and basically creates this vigor of a stallion for both men and women. So that intense purposes creates, in terms of, again, Chinese medicine perspective, to support and tonify the yang qi, the body's ability to move, the ability to create this expansive force in the body. So the yin is the material and the holding and the storage of things. The yang qi of the body is that which creates movement and that which creates life, essentially. So ashwagandha is that support of the yang, cordyceps supports the yin, and then we have, thirdly, is ginseng, which is in Chinese medicine, or renshen. So renshen, ginseng, actually the root looks like a human being with 2 legs and a body and even a head. So renshen or ginseng helps tonify the zhen qi, that, again, that vital force or the vitality of the body. So we have in this great formulation, this impressive herb formulation at therapeutic levels, not just minor amounts, but really helping to support the body materially, and that tapping the essentially like plugging in the battery of your iPhone, so to speak, retapping the adrenal function, tapping into the body's nervous system, and also tapping into the brain function to restore those systems of the body. So quite, again, an impressive formulation. And I personally have used this at a higher dose. I don't necessarily recommend Mito 2 Max at these levels for kind of this lower activity levels, but in my higher activity levels of running like a 50K or longer miles, I have taken Mito 2 Max in terms of one capsule after, or actually at each of the kind of stations, like whether they be between 8 and 9 miles. After 8 and 9 miles, I will actually and help support my systems by taking Mito 2 Max. But in general, if you're again at more of a lower fitness or at a level where your output is not necessarily that high, but you're just wanting to improve not only your cognitive functions, one capsule before your activity, and we'll talk about post-activity protocol as well, with one capsule afterwards to really, again, help support those levels and systems. Okay, we're going to talk about deep blue polyphenol complex. And so deep blue polyphenol complex acts very similar as an anti-inflammatory, if you want to call it that. It helps, again, to relieve temporary aches and pains. And you would find that similar to like if you were to take ibuprofen. And here's a story. And it's become more and more of a so-called reality check for a lot of the ultra runners in terms of taking ibuprofen before, during, and after your marathon or after your activity. And so these are, again, higher levels that they're taking ibuprofen. There was one case in 2009 at the Waldo 100K, and that's the actual race that I'll be running in August. And the winner of that race in 2009 actually won it in record course winning time at a little bit over 9 hours. So that's real fast. So his output must have been cranked in terms of that amount of time, that short time in terms. But he actually ended up going into the ER because of symptomologies that were really closely related to kidney failure. And it turned out that he was going through kidney failure. And after sifting through his history and understanding, yes, he did run 100K in a little bit over 9 hours, he did end up taking 5 tablets of ibuprofen, 1,000 milligram tablets. So that's a total of 5,000 milligrams of ibuprofen, way over even the FDA recommended levels of 400 milligrams per day. So that in a way helps, or actually I should say, is a contributor to the factor of his health condition. So on the other end, deep blue polyphenol complex is, I found, I've taken deep blue polyphenol complex on long runs, and I've taken it sometimes very similar to as frequent as one capsule every 6 to 9 miles. And that goes up to, again, 50K or more. So how it works well is the ingredients. Again, if you look at the ingredients and understand what it's doing, it gives me, at least for me, a better understanding of, wow, this is how it's working. So one of the most impressive ingredients in deep blue polyphenol complex is this Aproflex frankincense extract. It's a really patented formulation of frankincense that's super available. And this is the resin. It's not the essential oil. It's the resin of the frankincense, the boswellia. And there's been plenty of research in terms of helping to support frankincense's claim of as an anti-inflammatory, as again helps supporting oxygenation to the tissue, and again, helping with any kind of inflammatory response. And that's at 100 milligrams. So that's a real therapeutic dose that you're receiving per dose. And so also the other ingredients in this deep blue complex is this polyphenol blend. And that is, again, a complex of, one is curcumin or turmeric, but it's not only just the standard turmeric that you would find in your spice cabinet. It's actually this format of BCM 95. And the research coming out in this form of BCM 95 is that it is, again, super bioavailable, meaning it'll absorb into your system and get taken up into the tissue really quickly versus having a larger molecule in which to get processed by the body. So again, real important as the ingredients, and if they're bioavailable in the most optimal form, then you're going to be taking into your body that much quicker, and your body is going to absorb it and utilize it way faster than something else in a different form. Also in this blend are several other great ingredients: the pomegranate, the grape seed extract, the resveratrol, and the green tea. And these are all great ingredients, again, to support antioxidative stress. So basically helping to support the system to remove a lot of the free radicals. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about ginger. Ginger is at 300 milligrams in this deep blue polyphenol complex, one of the higher levels of ingredients. It's actually the most abundant ingredient. And in Chinese medicine, ginger, whether we use it in the format of fresh ginger or dried ginger, shenjiang or ganjiang, is a great harmonizer, we call it in Chinese medicine. It's a detoxifier. It really levels it out in a formula, everything else in the ingredient recipe list. So you think about ginger as a great leveler. Instead of having these highs and lows as to certain maybe herbs or nutrients provide for the body, it literally kind of moderates and harmonizes everything to balance everything out. So again, deep blue polyphenol complex, great use for not only inflammation, but also in terms of helping to support the immune system. Because again, as we're in our activity, our immune system gets heightened. One reason being that we have more inflammatory responses happening. So our immune system has to now deal with all these byproducts and waste products. But also because just, you think about it, all our qi, all our yang qi is expanding out to the surface. So that comes out as sweat, that comes out as our heart rate is increasing, our kind of mind is kind of, especially at more endurance levels, our mind starts to kind of hallucinate. And so a great way to kind of, again, bring it all back inwards, to really, again, nutrify the body, to kind of support the body's ability to remove a lot of free radical damage and to remove a lot of the inflammatory responses of the body, is this deep blue polyphenol complex. Okay. We're going into the blends with Slim and Sassy, or metabolic blend. And metabolic blend is, I think, one of the most critical blends you could ever come across. One being it has cinnamon bark. And in Chinese, again, my lens from Chinese medicine, I have to look at ingredients. And cinnamon bark specifically, or we call it rougui, is a real special herb. Well, because it's not only warming, it's very sweet, but in Chinese medicine, we also understand that it really taps into the kidneys. One being, it warms the kidneys. It actually helps to reestablish what we call the communication between the water kidneys and the heart fire. So that may not make a lot of sense to you guys out there, but from a Chinese medicine perspective, again, we look at it as tapping into, again, a reestablishing the communication line between your heart and the spirit, meaning to reestablish a firm connection in this state of the into a place of vitality, that vital force. It's basically, again, trying to tap into, okay, body, you still have that zenchi. You still have this force, vital force contained within you. So it's reestablishing that vital force. And so how Rogui does that is, again, by reconnecting the heart, fire, and the kidney waters. So that's a real special herb in Chinese medicine that we use a lot for a lot of chronic diseases. Because ultimately, when you're in that place of illness, then you have this sense that you're isolated, you're separated from not only people or from creator or from your health. You're separate, you're not healthy, so oh my gosh, I'm just going to be here forever. Rogui, or cinnamon bark, reconnects that true line, that true place where, hey, you have that vital force within you. It's there. So just remember. So that's cinnamon bark. The other ingredients that I love is the peppermint and the citrus peels of lemon and grapefruit. And then, of course, the ginger is the great harmonizer. And these, in a way, come to blend together to form this great ingredient recipe to help support, again, the liver function of detoxification, but also to help stabilize blood sugar. Rogui, or cinnamon, also has been shown in terms of different studies to normalize our blood sugar levels. So if you're having a high sugar intake of high sugar foods, cinnamon bark is one of a key ingredient to, again, help stabilize that blood sugar so it doesn't trigger this whole big insulin response. So how I take Slim and Sassy is through orally, drops to 3 drops right underneath my tongue, or I'll put it into, again, my 32-ounce water bottle and put in 3 or 4 drops. I'll even sometimes diffuse aromatically Slim and Sassy. And so in a way, that is different avenues in which to use Slim and Sassy. But again, a key ingredient to reestablishing health and to, again, support the systems of the body, whether that, again, be stabilizing the blood sugar to help supporting the liver detoxification pathways. And then we have the trifecta, and there's a more in-depth presentation that my beautiful wife, Dr. Mika, and Dr. Josie and I did in March. And if you want to take a look at that, I highly, highly recommend it to get more of a deeper understanding. So in general, frankincense, copaiba, Siberian fir, which makes up this trifecta, it's been really impressive, again, since I started using this blend in September. Not only using it externally or topically on whether it be my elbows or my knees. I've had previous history of a meniscus tear from a telemark ski injury. And I found that using this trifecta to be one of the most impressive ways to really start improving circulation, swelling, all the issues dealing with inflammation, swelling, the pain, heat, and the loss of function will, again, a little bit goes a long way. So they're all about consistency with essential oils that I've found. So utilizing it throughout the day, especially when you do have an existing injury, can be highly effective with the trifecta. And so, again, frankincense is that anti-inflammatory that helps to reoxygenate the body, even improving brain function. I've had patients with concussions utilizing frankincense. Basically, I have frankincense here, and how I've recommended during concussions or head injuries is to place 1 or 2 drops of the frankincense on your finger, and then go ahead and put it to the top or the roof of the mouth, and then kind of pressing it in with the tongue to the top of the palate. And that in a way helps to directly gain access into the brain that much quicker. Frankincense is one of the few medicinals that actually crosses the blood-brain barrier. So really important to, again, helping to reoxygenate the brain, to help with moving the blood and functions of the brain, but also of the overall body and systems of the body as well. Copaiba just is one of those worker essential oils. It really helps to move through your blockages, places of stagnation, from the tips of the fingers to the toes to the torso and into the extremities. But again, Copaiba, or this trifecta, I should say, utilized all together, helps really improve a lot of the fascia and the soft tissue injuries that we'll be talking more about in a little bit. Okay, so we again just review as the pre-workout protocol. It is in supplements the Lifelong Vitality Pack, a full dose, which is the 4 capsules of each of the 3 constituents. The Mito 2 Max, 1 capsule, and the Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex, 1 capsule prior to your activity. And then follow with the Slim and Sassy Metabolic Blend, 3 drops orally, or you can dilute it in a 32-ounce jar of water using a little bit higher dose, maybe 3 to 4 or 5 drops. And then also the Trifecta blend. You can utilize the Trifecta again orally underneath the tongue, or top, applying it to those areas where you're having past history of injuries, whether that be again sprains or different strains, muscle strains or sprains, or meniscus tears or fractures, even where you have kind of achy joints, previous history fractures. So we'll talk more again about this in a little bit. Another oil that I love to talk about in terms of issues related to a high output or high activity is lavender. And lavender is, again, this incredible, not only smelling essential oil, but it's really a wonderful support for the nervous system. Again, when you're pounding with running on either, again, on asphalt or on the trail, or doing any kind of strenuous activity, that's irritating the nervous system, because your foot has a lot of nerve endings and nerve constituents, but it's also you're taxing out the body when you're at those strenuous levels. So lavender I take in the morning actually, and in the evening. And how I apply that, or how I use it, is topically to the bottom of my feet, about 2 drops, and I put it into my hand, and then I'll go ahead and put it onto the bottom of one foot, put 2 more drops onto my hand, and again apply it to the bottom of my other foot. And then I'll put my sock on for the morning time, or in the evening time right before I get to bed. So that has helped calm a lot of different things in terms of my wife often comments that my body is really more still in the evening times at bedtime, so that I'm not all having muscle pain from my day's activity. And that all intents purposes helps, again, lavender with calming the nerve, really supporting the nervous system. It's also been actually helpful for muscle spasms, Charlie horses that I've had, to apply actually locally, topically, to that part where I've had cramps come up in my leg. So it's actually something in which to kind of put by the bedside if you have a history of muscle cramps or muscle spasms, to apply locally to that spot where you have the muscle spasm. Okay, and then next is balance or bounding blend. I love balance, not only because of the smell, but also it helps with, I found, with proprioception in terms of really supporting the neurological memory of the body. So what is proprioception? It's like how to know where your body is in space. So if you're waving your hand and you can't even necessarily see that part of your body, you know that it's existing in that space. So balance, I found, really to support that kind of training of the neurological and of the central nervous system to kind of, okay, if my body's falling this way, okay, my body needs to kind of compensate and shift the other way. And this is really helpful if you're on the trail or doing other activities that require a lot of balancing. And most activities, whether it be basketball, volleyball, racquetball, squash, you have to adjust different directional. In any type of activity, you're going to need some understanding of how to move your body through space, right? So balance is one of those things that helps support that. And how, again, I apply that is topically. This is only topically to the bottoms of my feet, 2 drops on each foot, or also I'll put 2 to 3 drops and put it to the back of my neck or behind the ears to, again, support the whole nervous system in its proprioception. Okay, another great blend that supports activity is breathe, and there's peppermint, which is included in breathe, but breathe comes in the breathe stick or the essential oil blend, and then peppermint comes in the format of the single essential oil or the breathe beadlets and the stick. So breathe and peppermint help with the whole respiratory system. And when you think about how does that all work with the respiratory system and how does it improve the respiratory system, again, if you look at the ingredients, they all are essential oils that support mucus production, normalizing mucus production, that is. So that, if you look at it more at a physiological level, deep inside of our lungs, we've got these alveoli sacs. And when we're like active, when we're kind of pushing our body physically, we create some degree of more mucus. One, because we're creating more inflammatory responses again in the body, but that all ends up in the lungs as well. So how we can support our body is through actually inhaling aromatically. So I put 1 or 2 drops of the breathe or peppermint into the palm of my hand. I go ahead and kind of trigger through movement of rubbing together my hands, and then I'll cup my hands and breathe it in. Or I'll take one nostril and close it off and breathe it through that nostril, and then cover up the other nostril and breathe it through the other nostril. So it goes right into the whole nasal cavity, into the sinus cavities, and into the upper respiratory tract and into the lungs. So it gets from the basic nose all the way through the whole system into the lungs, which is a great way aromatically to help normalize that excess mucus production. And it can be used again in more places of sickness, whether that be related to bronchitis, pneumonia, upper respiratory infections. It again helps support the immune system and again normalizing that mucus production. So breathe aromatically, or again you can use topically. I find it really helpful when there's a lot of that deep chest, like you're feeling like an elephant's on your chest. I actually take a few drops on patients and do actual intercostal massage, basically these muscles that are in between the ribs on the whole sternum and chest is basically trying to help open up the chest and free up the chest, and topically works wonderful. So highly, highly recommend the breathe and peppermint. Okay, so post-workout protocol, we did talk about a lot of these supplements and essential oils in the pre-workout protocol. But again, it's just a way in which to support the body after your activity, after your workouts. Wise, again, taking the Mo2 Max, one capsule, and then Deep Blue Polyphenol, one capsule. In terms of the essential oils or the blends, I highly recommend, again, the trifecta, taking that 2 drops orally. Or again, you can dilute it in a little bit of water, and then you can utilize the trifecta topically, specifically to that area where you've had trouble, whether it be your knees, your feet. I actually use the trifecta prior to my runs and after my runs on the bottom of my feet. One, because my feet get tired after running, 6 to 8 hours on the trail or so. So it is really helpful pre and post run for me to utilize the trifecta. Lavender, again, is really supportive externally, topically, to not only, again, to the bottom of the feet, but I also sometimes put a few drops of lavender and then apply it into my scalp and head prior to going to bed, and that really helps support my sleep. Slim and Sassy and the citrus peels in general are really supportive to add into your water to, again, support your hydration. It's, again, key way to support your body's recovery time is how much fluid you can get back into your system. So you can go ahead and recover faster and get out the next day and be active again. And then lastly is the balance blend to, again, reestablish and support the neurological systems, the proprioception of the body. Okay. So what are some common issues that you might have after your workout, and what can we utilize? And we talked again about the citrus peels for dehydration. Another ingredient that I often add into that whole mixture is a tablespoon of the chia seeds. And maybe chia from the Chia Pet back in the 80s, if you can predate that time. But in terms of chia seeds, are really high in a lot of amino acids, which are basically the building blocks of our cells. And in terms of history-wise, it came from South America, where the ancient people there utilized chia very readily in terms of being able to walk for, many miles. And they would often just carry a sack of chia seeds for their nutrients. So I shake up chia seeds pretty often because it sometimes clumps up and becomes this mess, so to speak, of this kind of gelatinous substance. But it's really yummy in a way of reestablishing and re-nurturing the body, especially within 15 to 30 minutes after your workout is a key time to rebuild your carbohydrates and also your protein levels. So beyond, if you don't get that protein in and carbohydrates in and fluid in, then it actually starts to inhibit or slows down your recovery time. So make sure you get in that fluid, make sure you get in those amino acids, protein levels within 30 minutes after your workout. So another condition is heat sensitivity. Getting overheated, especially in the summertime, springtime, is real common. And even in the wintertime, when I'm doing winter runs or telemark skiing, I often just burn up overheating wise. So something that really could be supportive in the heat or overheating department is peppermint and or the Breathe blend. And you can apply, typically I put in about 5 to 10 drops into a spray bottle, like about a 15 milliliter spray bottle. and I will go ahead and have that after my workouts. Just fill it up with water, and then utilize it as a spray. Just close your eyes when you're applying it, because you don't want to get any of the menthol, the peppermint, or the breathe into the eyes or any kind of mucus areas of the body, because that's very irritating. So you don't want to do that. So just spray it onto your skin even, and that cooling effect will be pretty immediate. A third issue that's real common, especially this time of year, is hay fever, seasonal threats. I found a really great blend to be really useful for patients, whether they again be athletes to arborists, people who are gardeners that are out and about this time of year for hours on end, and have environmental threats in terms of the pollens and in terms of the grasses, really so-called being prevalent and attacking their immune system, so to speak, that I found the cilantro blend, in terms of cilantro, melaleuca, lavender, and the peppermint, to be a really great blend to really help with your histamine response, which is basically what's happening when you have a lot of foreign matter, whether that be pollen, grasses again, or animal dander that trigger an allergic response or sensitivity. And cilantro is a key ingredient, one, because it's real potent in terms of high amounts of vitamin C, but a really key ingredient to this histamine response and supporting the immune system. But in a way, the melaleuca and the lavender and peppermint also support that efforts of the body to quell, again, and deal with a lot of the histamine response that's going in the body. You can take basically 2 drops orally underneath the tongue of the cilantro, of the melaleuca, the lavender, and the peppermint. And you can also dilute it in a small amount of water, ounces of water, and drink it down. Typically, if you're in a more active hay fever, sneezing, irritating eyes, or scratchy throat situation, if you want to take it, actually 1 drop of each of the oils taken. Sometimes I recommend it if you're in an acute stage every half hour, until those symptoms start to diminish. Then you want to then go to maybe those 2 drops of each every 3 to 4 hours. So until those symptoms really start to diminish, you can actually go up to half an hour, 1 drop of each of those oils. And again, play around with the dose and follow your body. If you're finding that you're having any kind of sensitivity, stop with those essential oils to give your body a break. That just means that it's not bad for your body, just meaning you're needing to take a break from the essential oils because of the sensitivity that you've had right now. So just to take a break, allow the oils to move out of the body, and then you can come back to the oils. So here's some blends in terms of what we've come up with as recovery blends. And we talked about first Cypress Aroma Touch blend and Deep Blue blend to support DOMS. And DOMS is not somebody's name. He's not a relative of Tom. He's actually, it's an acronym for delayed onset muscle soreness. So it's like that feeling of achiness you get actually 24, 48, even 72 hours later. You can still have that stiff tissue, stiff joints feeling. And what I found to be helpful in supporting more recovery, faster recovery time from DOMS is basically that blend of Cypress, Aroma Touch, and Deep Blue. And in terms of dose levels, you can utilize equal amounts of, if you're putting it on neat, meaning without any carrier oil, I like to layer all of these blends I optimally prefer and recommend layering them individually in this order, specifically with Cypress, Aromatouch, and Deep Blue. And to the areas where you're having that kind of delayed muscle soreness, whether it be, again, your knees or your shoulders or your ankles and elbows. And to keep applying that, again, a little amount goes a long way with essential oils. So really, again, being consistent throughout the day. Again, if you have a need for quicker recovery time, then sometimes every 2 hours I'm applying these essential oils. And again, whether it be layering them individually or putting them into a roller bottle, can be more convenient and time saving. But again, it's just rolling it on and just rubbing it in, and that's it. It takes like 3, 4, 5 seconds to apply that. The next blend, recovery blend, is the tendon ligament support. And the difference in terms of how it's different to the DOMS is that lemongrass. And we'll talk a little bit more about lemongrass, but how I've used lemongrass and this Aromatouch Deep Blue blend is really in a lot more related issues with sprains and strains, in terms of ligament sprains, where ankle sprains, or in terms of repetitive motion, carpal tunnel syndrome issues with the wrist joints, where you get a lot of chronic inflammation, essentially. So that irritation can be readily eased with this kind of blend. And again, each of those doses, you want to try layering them, ideally. And with lemongrass, I highly recommend lemongrass being in a dilution of fractionated coconut oil. It tends to be, for some people, it tends to be a little bit more irritating. And how you would recognize that it irritates the skin, well, it just becomes red and a little bit itchy. If that's the case, then go ahead and stop using it. Take time out, so don't apply oils back onto it, and give your skin a break and allow it to go away. And then go ahead and understand, okay, dilution is key. So you're utilizing maybe in about a 15 or 10 milliliter roll-on, you're utilizing about 4 drops of each, and then filling up the rest with some fractionated coconut oil. So again, the third blend for recovery is the trifecta. And we again talked about this earlier as being this wonderful blend for a little bit more, I find to be more so-called moderate to severe injuries in terms of meniscus tears, partial tears, more issues related to even closed fractures. I've applied the trifecta to broken fingers, dislocated shoulders, and other issues that are a little bit more heavily in pain, essentially. So the frankincense, copaiba, and Siberian fir are the key ingredients of the trifecta, and again help with a lot more of the inflammatory pain responses of the body. So cypress, I love, one, because it is one that's in that DOMS blend. And cypress is one of, I know cypress is in Aromatouch blend, but in our DOMS blend, I added that extra support of the cypress. One, because cypress is a wonderful smell, but also because it has a really amazing constituents to help support swelling specifically, or inflammation. So people with edema, or if you've heard of people running longer distances and their legs kind of swell up, the key support for that in terms of essential oils would be cypress and the Aromatouch and the Deep Blue blends. And then follow that with compression of that area with a compression sock or a sleeve, and then elevation above the heart. So again, cypress is a wonderful essential oil for supporting that swelling edema of typically lower extremities or arms and hands. And then Aroma Touch, again, is this wonderful blend as part of the two blends that we created with the DOMS and the soft tissue injury blend, as kind of, again, as a foundational blend that I've chosen because, again, it helps support multi-functions, multi-systems of the body. And thirdly, the Deep Blue blend, again, as we all know, has this kind of counter-irritant effect. It kind of has this warming, cooling effect, essentially then helping to support the body's ability to deal with inflammation, essentially. So the main ingredients of that are what we call methyl salicylates, basically the wintergreen, the camphor, are main ingredients that create this counter irritation, basically this cooling and heating effect that then helps support and deal with the body's inflammatory response. And it's a wonderful blend in which to add into, I feel, the Aroma Touch blend, followed with either cypress or the lemongrass. So lemongrass, again, is typically a little bit warm to hot natured in terms of its quality. And so I highly recommend to use a fractionated coconut oil to help with to dilute it, to help with any kind of irritation to the skin. But lemongrass is great, again, specifically for a lot of soft tissue, the Achilles tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, issues where they can be long-standing inflammatory responses. One, because these areas of fascia, or you think about plantar fasciitis, or the IT band, which is fascia, is really not very well vascularized, meaning it doesn't get a lot of blood circulation because just the nature that this tissue doesn't have a lot of blood vessels going into it versus bone or muscles. There are more blood vessels going to these types of tissue. So lemongrass, though, helps really support those levels of the body where those tissues aren't very well vascularized again. And again, helps support that whatever existing circulation or blood vessels that go, like the small capillaries that go to the plantar fascia or to the Achilles area, again, helps support and opens up more of those blood vessels to help support that circulation. Okay. So again, as a kind of a post review, we talked about the DOM support blend, which has the cypress, Aroma Touch, and Deep Blue blend. And then the tendon ligament support is really the big difference is that lemongrass included in that Aroma Touch blend and Deep Blue blend. And then the trifecta, which is the more so-called moderate to more serious issues of injuries, which is the frankincense, copaiba, and the Siberian fir. And then I want to talk about what I have utilized more at really more either pain levels, more serious injuries, fractures, is this Elite Trifecta Plus blend. And this is for only external use because of the Aroma Touch and the Deep Blue blends that are in here. But the first layer, again, ideally in an optimal situation where you have plenty of time, you want to just layer them one at a time, but in this order. So frankincense, copaiba, and Siberian fir, which is the trifecta part. And again, you're applying that externally topically to either the elbows, if you've got tennis elbow, or golfer's elbow, if you've got some past issues with, dislocated shoulder, I've used, to actual fractures of the collarbone, where there's obviously not any exposed, out of the skin fractures, but more closed fractures to fractures of the forearm. I've utilized this blend And again, just applying topically, 2 drops of each oil, and applying it to, again, depending on the size of the region of tissue that you want to do, anywhere from 2, sometimes 4 drops if I'm applying it to somebody who has an issue with bulging disc in their spine that's creating radiating sciatic nerve pain. I'll utilize maybe 3 to 4 drops of each of these essential oils. But again, layering it is really key. So frankincense first, copaiba second, Siberian fir third, and then cypress fourth, aroma touch blend fifth, and deep blue blend sixth. Excuse me. So that's the Elite Trifecta Plus, and that's kind of, again, if you're in higher levels of pain. And you want a faster response time in terms of helping to clear out that inflammation and supporting the body's systems to help move out a lot of inflammation. The Elite Trifecta Plus is for you. So that wraps up my part of my presentation, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and look at my website at eliteacupuncturesportsmedicine.com. And again, I do specialize ranging from sports injuries to more chronic pain symptomology, ranging from myotonic dystrophy to chronic fatigue and other muscle issues, to elite athletes wanting to improve their times or support their activity levels. And that is it. So hope you enjoyed this presentation. I'll give it back to Julie or Aisha.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Will. That was fantastic. Hey, Will, can you go back to your Elite Plus slide for a sec? I have a question or a comment I wanted to just add in.
Sure.
Because I know you were talking about some of the more intensive at the end, the Elite Plus one, intense,
yes.
With a broken bone or fracture things or a disc, but really also, and the best is if it's really intense and acute to layer them and go through those 6 layers. But you've also used, right, yourself on, for more easy access on the trail, you've made up a roller bottle of the layer 1 of the trifecta, right, with the frankincense, copaiba, Siberian fir, and with some coconut oil. And then
I've used all 6 of those.
Use them in one.
Yes, and without without any fractionated coconut oil into 50 milliliter. I mean, if I'm on the trail for 10 plus hours, I often have used up a lot.
Yeah, so that's more. So I like to just give people a couple ideas of like the range.
Yes,
I've suggested to people to make up these 2 roll bottles and do some fractionated coconut oil with it. So they've made up the trifecta of the frankincense, copaiba, and Siberian for about 50-50, 50%
oil,
50% carrier oil, and then a second roller bolt of the Cypress Aroma Touch in blue the same day. And so this is more like for just like regular working out people.
Yeah.
And let's say you have a knee issue or just muscles that get sore afterwards, and being able to kind of roller on the layer 1 and then the second layer afterwards.
I totally agree. And I think that dilution with the fractionated coconut oil, I kind of veer back and forth, but I find that using that dilution can actually keep the oils more on the surface of the skin. So you have more longevity of the action of those oils.
Right. Lasts longer. It's kind of like a time release capsule.
Exactly. So I play around with it different times using just neat in terms of without the dilution, or with times where I do dilute it in that fractionated coconut oil.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, it depends on how long I'm out on activity levels. If I'm just doing like a half an hour or hour run, then I'll just utilize maybe the trifecta.
Right.
And oftentimes I just realized it might be effective to just not do anything at all and see how that feels. And
Compare
your next activity time to apply it after or before and after and see how it feels. It's kind of like a little self-experiment to try it or not try it one activity level and then try it on another occasion and seeing if those experiences are different.
That is always helpful, I think, in self-exploration.
Yeah.
Aish, I know we've gone long and it's an hour and a half. I know some people have also been asking questions on the chat. Is there anything that stands out to you that people are wanting to
ask
from Will?
Questions and then we can wrap it up. The first question is, can anyone recommend a blend or protocol to address air pressure fluctuations due to weather? Symptoms are tinnitus, headache, and muscle tension in the neck.
I think frankincense should be part of that. Again, frankincense is one of those amazing essential oils that crosses the blood-brain barrier. It helps oxygenate the brain. So for sure, frankincense would be in that blend.
And I always hear about helichrysum for tinnitus. And I think of peppermint also with the headaches and with the pressures. So you could either go with those three or you could use deep blue with frankincense because it has a helichrysum in them.
One other question, I'm not seeing it on the thread anymore, but what are your favorite oils to support brain function in general?
Would be the trifecta.
Yeah.
Also would be the Mito 2 Max. Again, I've used the Mito 2 Max on patients with issues ranging from what is called they fall asleep while you're talking to them. It's called narcolepsy, or kind of improving your brain function in a way of not being overly caffeinated, of course, but it's basically helping to open up those cognitive functions of the brain. So Mito 2 Max for sure.
Yeah, well, we never get the floor, even in my big talk about the deep dive into the LLV, I didn't get to talk about the deep blue and the Mitomax enough. But just the 600 milligrams in the 2 capsules, the suggested dose of the Mitomax, 600 milligrams of acetyl L-carnitine.
Right.
This is incredible, together with that oligonol, which is that lychee berry specifically trademarked from this Japanese company. Those two alone, and they're not alone. You have the CoQ10, you have the alpha-lipoic acid, and then you have all the other herbs. There's incredible power in that, as Will has been talking about, for circulation, microcirculation to the extremities, but your brain is considered almost an extremity, actually. And so to the brain, and for cardiovascular circulation as well. And really about that circulation together with blood sugar control. So absolutely anyone with syndrome X, with pre-diabetes, diabetes, blood sugar, too low, too high, just our standard American lifestyle and diet, Mitomax and lemon sassy should be hugely on the docket. And those blood sugar control goes hand in hand with brain function. And then and Mitomax and the deep blue polyphenol blend just work so incredibly together, right? Well, the synergy between the powerful antioxidants in deep blue. I want to do a challenge to people to Google BCM 95, Pomela, Aproflex. So you guys, these are the trademark versions of these powerful herbs that are in the deep blue polyphenol blend. And a trademark version can be buying a specific patented version. And the reason they do that is that they're all clinically studied and have clinical studies to back them. And they figured out technology to make them way more bioavailable to our bodies. BCM 95 is one of the best forms of curcuminoids, which is turmeric, on the market. It's turmeric with bioperine, which comes from black pepper, and turmeric essential oils, 7 times more bioavailable than the average highly standardized 95% curcumin. Okay. Yeah. So, and there's 215 grams in the 2 capsules. So that's over 1,500 milligrams bioavailable of highest level curcuminoids right there. And most people buy much lower doses of that as a single thing. And then you have the ginger, then you have the pomelo, which is incredible ellagic acid from pomegranate. See how I get excitable? You have the boswellic resin acids from of our frankincense. That's a patented form. That's over twice 50% more bioavailable. You have 100 milligrams. That's like 200 milligrams. And then there's more. And then there's 100 milligrams in the green tea. It doesn't stop. And that's all in one bottle. I can't even, there's nothing, absolutely nothing on the Dr. Line naturopathic market that I can find. And this is available in the loyalty rewards for $20. Anything close to this and not even nearly as good is over $100 on Dr. Line naturopathic. I mean, and anyways, so for brain health, this plus this, and then I would say the trifecta. And please don't also forget
Cinnamon sassy or metabolic blend.
Yeah, no, I was actually gonna say I was forgetting it.
Oh.
Frankincense and oh dear, I need some. It's coming. I can't remember it because I was too excited. I get all excited and then things. Anyways, it's the essential oil that a lot of people don't like the smell of.
Rosemary.
No, literally, I'm too excited. I'll come up with it. Anyways, we need to go. Patchouli. There it comes. Thank you. It's downloading. So patchouli is one of the highest oils in sesquiterpenes, and it goes together with frankincense. So if you really want brain health, you should be taking and doing topically the trifecta and internally, and then I would advise diffusing frankincense together with patchouli.
I'm just going to add one more plug in there while we're talking about brain health. Cinnamon sassy is phenomenal at clearing brain fog and just opening up your mental acuity. So using that along with what Dr. Will Wan and Dr. Josie are speaking about has personally been very effective for my own brain health.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, well, we've had an epic presentation today. We are way over time, Will, so let's just go ahead and wrap it up, but we super appreciate you all sticking with us. And I just want to let you know that the very best way to get your essential oils is to join us with your own wholesale account. And you can talk to the person that invited you to this webinar, of course, and they will help you get started. And or if you've come to us via Eventbrite or Facebook and you do not have a contact, we would love for you to join our community. We are very passionate and dedicated about offering the very best essential oil education as you experience today. We have these events every month. We have live events in Portland. We have a awesome Facebook support page and so much more. So you can contact us directly at info@essentialwellness.life. And we will wrap that up. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Dr. Josie, for your insights and for joining us. Super awesome. I just love you guys so much and really appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge. It's incredibly valuable and life-changing for so many. So have a great day, everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month. Bye-bye.